That is so funny. Next time, how about a glitter cannon? You know?
Glitter is not good for the environment, Jen. I don't know if you know this, but
Oh, well, yeah, it's recycled glitter, okay?
I actually saw a YouTube documentary that there's like 400,000 pounds of glitter that nobody can account for that's made every year. And
It's the
they
bottom of the ocean.
there's a lot of guesses, but the biggest guess is the US government buys it because it's an ingredient in rocket fuel. Who knew that?
I did not know that. So if you melt it down, you can make rocket fuel.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's like and it's secret. So they don't want our enemies to know that our secret ingredient in our Patriot
Glitter.
rockets is actually glitter. Is there anything more American than red, white, blue
Uh,
glitter fueling our rockets? I
uh,
mean, it's just beautiful.
I mean, the world is a Care Bears movie. So yeah.
Listen, welcome to BeerNet Radio, Wednesday Warehouse. It's just myself, Harry Schuhmacher, and Jen Litz Cook, our editor and chief content creator, chief everything, really. And Jordan's out sick. We've had two people out this week. It's been bananas. And then, Jen, you gave a speech at the Wholesale Beer Distributors of Texas and Austin. How did that go? I haven't talked to you since then.
It went good. It was their next gen. So it was all, the WBDT next gen, but Tom Spillman was there and some of those guys were there. And Morgan LaMantia, who she's now a senator, so she came and spoke, and that was cool.
She's
Uh,
a state senator?
yeah, I think she just won this year. So
Oh,
I
wow. I didn't
think
know that.
yeah, her district I think is Padre 27 or something like that. And so
Of
talking about
course it
things
is.
like, yeah, of course it is. Well,
Yeah,
Harry,
the Lamantias are AB distributors down in South Texas and in we call it the Valley, which is the Rio Grande Valley, all along the border up through New Mexico now. And so South Padre is a big district. It's kind of
the Riviera, yes.
it's our redneck Riviera, basically.
I was like,
It's
Amalfi? No, that's not in France.
Amalfi's in Italy.
Italy, yes.
Listen to me talking like I'm this world traveler. But so they had the next gen there. That's cool. What did
Yeah.
you talk about? Beer?
Yes, I talked about State of the Union. We got some bad news at the half year mark for shipments and for drafts, and imports are doing good. Constellation Beer's doing good. Twisted Tea is a train. And then I talked a little bit about Bud Light, of course, and some of the share gains and losses. And obviously, the Modelo news this week that Modelo is the number one now year to date in dollars by share. If take it out to the 100th decimal place, which is funny. Well, and these wholesalers have heard it before. They were mostly AB wholesalers, but it's funny because that whole Modelo thing is so just like semantics or nominal because it is like, but the reality is that Bud Light's not going to be the number one brand again, right?
Right.
Regardless. So, and they had already planned for that.
Yeah. If you're looking at shipments, I'm pretty sure Bud Light is still outside
For
Modelo
volume, yeah. Yeah,
for volume.
totally.
And then
Totally.
considering if you include on-premise draft,
Yeah.
they definitely outsell. But by the end of the year, it might even be shipments
Yeah.
that and that will be when really the folks at Constellation can really celebrate that they're the number one beer is when we get the final numbers in. And we're going to have to estimate because I don't think AB is going to release brand level shipments in the US. I don't think they do. Uh,
I don't think they do.
they just do an overall number, but we'll be able to guess pretty tightly based on that because Bud Light is a huge part of their volume.
Well, so in other Bud Light news, they had their Easy to Sunday ads debut this week, like their NFL campaign, which this was one of the things that I also kind of briefly mentioned. I think some of the tailwinds behind Constellation Beer are not only premium and demographics, but also the fact that they have good marketing and consistent marketing. Like what other brewer has had basically the same campaign for like 12 years, right? Like Corona, or like 6 or 8 years for like Modelo Fighting Spirit. Now Miller Lite or Coors Light has caught on with Made to Chill. Could this easy to enjoy campaign actually end up being Bud Light's longer term campaign? I
I
mean,
tell you, it should. And
yeah.
let me tell you why. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy is a perfect tagline for Bud Light because, first of all, it is easy to drink because it's a light beer. Second of all, the brand is just easy because you can find it literally everywhere. Any package configuration that you would want. So it really is. If you're like, I need to drink beer today, what's the easiest solution? It's Bud Light. Price point's right. It's everywhere. It's fresh. So I was thinking about this, obviously. I was like, because I saw it on a billboard, easy to enjoy.
Yeah.
And I thought, how ironic. They did the one thing that would make it not easy to enjoy. And that's because you don't want to get roped into some political conversation. So, ironies of irony, but it is a great campaign. I think if none of this other noise was going on, as Marcel spoke at our conference in January, and we all kind of agreed that we thought they were on the right path for Bud Light.
Benoit.
Yeah.
And CMO. Yeah.
Yeah. I get everybody's names mixed up.
Same.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's a good campaign, and they should just stick with it because I think their marketing is better than it's been in years, which is so sad.
It's totally sad. And it's not moving the needle because this cohort is just digging in their heels. But then there was that, I think we reported on this week too, the Deutsche Bank report. They do their own US consumer survey of sentiments, and they're seeing a little bit of improvement in like lapsed drinkers of Bud Light. There's a little less of that and more saying they're buying more. So we'll see. I don't know if that will.
Yeah, my instinct tells me that a year from now we won't be talking about this.
Yeah, hopefully.
I could be dead wrong. But I mean, if you look like Bud Light posted on Twitter, I think it was this morning or last night, and they still got ratioed, but it was not nearly as bad. It was about equal, actually, people that liked it versus people who ratioed it, meaning they quote tweeted it and said something derogatory about it. So I think they're kind of over the hump, but summer's over. So they've got 4 or 5 months, get it all together. The main thing that we got to look for now is what happens for the fall resets. How much they're going to lose space. I think that's a foregone conclusion. It's just how much, and probably more importantly, how many end caps and promos are they going to lose with the chains and rollers and ads, because they dominate in that space. Yeah. I've had Wyatt, my youngest son, in town for a few days. He starts school, I think today. He's a senior at UT. And we were just talking about how, he and his friends just don't drink a lot. And, he's 22. You would think, and then, sure enough, another report came out last week. I think the Gallup poll said that 40% of young people believe that any amount of alcohol is harmful, which, I think technically is correct. You didn't see those statistics when you were 21 or when I was 21, for sure.
No, true. That's a good point. That's a really good point because, people will say, oh, well, over time, Gallup has done this over time trend. Sure, there are ebbs and flows of how much people drink, but that is true. When I was a kid starting to drink, I didn't have, it wasn't like alcohol was tobacco. And now if you're 21, you're like, well, this could kill me.
Yeah.
For the long term.
Which is this dichotomy or juxtaposition, you might say, is so bizarre because you have on the one hand, Gen Z saying that, alcohol is less healthy than weed and it's more harmful and all this. And then on the other hand, you have the industry coming up, with Lego My Ego breakfast cream and KFC coming out with a rum. And you've got Sunny D, and there was another one this week that I'm trying to remember. Oh, Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, yeah.
Hard tea and coffee.
We have them on Tuesday, on the pod Tuesday. So we're going to get them on the hot seat, on the record for everyone to see.
Well, I mean, you can't blame them. They're just CPG companies coming in and, just making a little extra dime. But that's the kind of the problem is that if we do get backlash from the states, those guys can just get out. It's not going to do any harm really to them, but the industry is going to be left holding the bag. And that's just one of the things. That's just kind of a watch out. Nothing's happened yet, which is kind of has surprised me that there hasn't been an uproar over Sunny D or Hard Mountain Dew or, same with Pepsi. They can cut their licenses. It's not anyway. So that's just something to watch. All right. And so what other news it's late August, folks.
Well, there was actually a decent amount of news this week, of course, because we were
Yeah.
a man down and I was busy with my presentation. But this California Beverage Solutions, right? This AV network of 6 AB wholesalers and Stone Distributing to cover a good chunk of the California territory to help those guys, those family wholesalers, be, not just viable, but really competitive and be a turnkey cohesive.
That's the main thing that suppliers don't want to dick around with is like, we have to deal with all these different contracts and territories and it's a real hassle. And, Wisconsin, some other states have done this. Wisconsin, as I remember, I think Michigan, there's several groups of wholesalers that have done this in various states. I think it's smart. I'm surprised they haven't done it sooner. Because, there is, I'm sure with some suppliers, raised fatigue where if they're coming out, if there's kind of a new supplier that's hot, they don't want to be competing against everything. And the AB network is hungry right now, and it might be a viable alternative.
Yeah.
Smart.
And totally. I'm kind of surprised they didn't do it sooner, but I think it's not as easy as it would sound, right? I think it's kind of tough to get alignment on some of the things that they'd offer as a unit, but they're working on it. A couple things were interesting to me. One, that Stone is involved, right? So that's like, who's going to acquire Stone? Distributing. Not Reyes now. That used to be our theory, right? That Reyes was, but now I don't think so, but who knows? But then 2, they're also angling for spirits. So, Peter Highmark was saying we would love for AB to notice us as a viable alternative to RNDC for things like Low Sundays and Cutwater Neutral, because, they can't have it in AB1 in that state. But what if, I think AB could buy a bigger spirits company, right? I mean, you've got dipping its toe in there. I bet you AB they're like, what can we buy? And then
I'm sure because, they, like we said on the last podcast, it's segment chasing is what these big companies tend to do, which is why Molson Coors is getting into bourbon. And, I could see AB making a dip in their toe. They already have Cutwater.
One more thing, BPI just came out and July was looking good. Like July BPI was on the upswing. I think total beer was 54 and at risk fell to 44. And now, unfortunately, we've reverted those two. Total BPI is now 45 and at risk inventory is at 52. So but premium lights are doing really good. They're at like 58 and craft has a huge upswing and imports is doing good, but everything else, not as great versus last year.
Yeah. I think everybody got a little over their skis and we got a little too much beer in the system that hasn't been flushed through as well as we thought. We'll see what Labor Day does, which is in like 2 weeks.
A week, right? I don't know. I have no idea what day it is anymore.
And craft, I think their growth is in C stores. And I think that's you reported on Sierra Nevada's, I guess, kind of distributor meeting. Yeah. And that's one thing I think they're going to focus on coming out with the Imperial IPA that will only go to C stores. It's going to be like 9.5.
Yep.
At C stores, it's just about high octane.
Oh, yeah.
And flavor. Just get it in there. Yep. And I think also we're going to have the young feller from Geloso Beverage.
Yes.
That's another guy who understands the C-store consumer better than most. And that company just sits right in that sweet spot, kind of under the radar. People try and encroach on them. Fusion Projects is another. Beatbox is another. I mean, you can make a great living just focusing on C-stores. And so that'll be interesting to talk about. Okay. So anything else, Jennifer?
Well, we had couple legal updates this week. I wish we had Bianca on right now, but she's actually taking a day off. But Olympic Eagle filed its petition for a rehearing by an en-banc panel at the Ninth Circuit, although they also stipulated to stuff. So we'll see what happens there. Yeah. And then there was, I think, we got the explication for why AB is appealing the Grupo Modelo deal. So we'll be watching that too. That should have been a thing of the word beer per state law or something. Again, yeah, exactly. We're still arguing over what beer is. Yes.
Nothing but a party. BeerNet Radio.
What goes on? You should open the show like that every day.
How do you think I get up every day out of bed?
With your smoke machine?
Yes, and I have the fan on, so it's just swooshing around.
Harry, that can't be good for you, honestly, in like a
It's just
small,
it's just
unventilated space.
it's carbon monoxide is fine. It's natural. It's carbon.
Uh,
All right. Well, good. Well, we'll regroup next week. Hopefully, Jordan gets better. He's always patient zero every time, which, I kind of envy him. He gets it over with. He's going to be, what do you call it? Immunized,
yes.
naturally immunized.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, have a good weekend. And Jennifer, I want you to relax, maybe take it some little breather.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the Monday issue. Big Daddy's got it in hand.
Awesome.
And we'll shout at you next week.
All right, boss. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Cheers.